All right, so good evening, everybody, and welcome to our third YouTube edition of the Schwarz IT Meetup. Thank you so much for joining. It's really great to see that so many people are interested in this topic. And today we have a great speaker, Dustin Schmidt, and he will talk about the Schwarz IT cloud platform STACKIT, and he will get us some insights about Kubernetes and how we provide it as a service on our cloud platform. And before we start, just some quick notes. So the session length will be 30 minutes. And if you have any questions during the presentation, just write them down in the YouTube chat. And also we have scheduled a Q&A slot at the end where you can go into further discussion with Dustin. And yeah, with that being said, I would like you to welcome Dustin Schmidt on stage and enjoy the presentation.
Thank you, Rika. Yeah, welcome everyone. It's pretty cool to be here, to be honest. Just in addition, if you have any questions beforehand, feel free to ask them in the chat because yeah, like my whole team is watching the stream and everyone can answer questions if you have some. And yeah, so also warm welcome from my side. Then I will just start with the presentation. Who am I? My name is Dustin Schmidt and I'm the product owner of the STACKIT Kubernetes Engine. And as I wrote it down, I love tech stuff and the people behind it. So I'm really happy to have the chance to tell you about what's going on inside our team, who we are, what our motivation were behind the product we use right now, and what we've developed until today. So yeah, like I said, I want to introduce our team too. And here you can see all the beautiful, lovely faces. So this is the STACKIT Kubernetes team, and a few of our trainees joined too. So we made a screenshot shooting yesterday because, of course, we are still working in the remote world. And yeah, so maybe a few words to the team behind it. We started within the Schwarz IT and worked in an on-premise environment where we worked with a platform called OpenShift. So some of you might already know it. And so we had the team part of 3 guys who maintained the platform. And on the other side, we had the consulting guys. So I'm from there too, who jumped around in different projects and yeah, tried to teach the containerization part. So how you start with a Kubernetes platform like OpenShift. And so yeah, we came together as a team and we said, okay, we wanted to be one team. We want to provide a Kubernetes service. We want to fulfill that need from STACKIT, of course, and we want to do that in a larger scale than we did it with the OpenShift environment. So just to give you a few numbers, we had around 300 nodes behind the shared platform OpenShift. And currently we have our Kubernetes service in the beta phase for internet-facing clusters. And there we have like 114, I think. Which is really cool. So we have 114 running clusters and it's not even production right now. So yeah, I'm pretty sure we will fulfill our dream to have this large scale environment and yeah, to work with that. Also, we said, okay, we want to be a player on the European Kubernetes market, and we are sure that we are the team behind it who can provide this service. So yeah, as I said, there is this huge project called STACKIT, and we want to build a cloud environment for our internal customers as well as external customers. And yeah, there was this question one day where it says, okay, we want to provide a Kubernetes as a service. And we said, yeah, we are the team who want to fulfill this because it's our dream too. We love Kubernetes. We are fascinated of this technology. And yeah, maybe I will just lose some words to STACKIT itself and show you this slide. So it's just a high-level architecture where you can see we have our infrastructure layer, we have our platform layer, the STACKIT portal, the API, and some services around it. And today we are here in this runtime section. So besides the Cloud Foundry, we are the ones who provide the Kubernetes service. And as I'm not sure who is exactly in this call today, I would just introduce Kubernetes on a really high level. And therefore, I found this really great meme. So, okay, we are all happy that the Evergreen isn't stuck in the Suez Canal anymore. But yeah, Kubernetes for beginners, what could go wrong? And therefore, I just copied the Wikipedia description of what Kubernetes is. And yeah, Kubernetes is an open source container orchestration system for automating deployment, scaling, and management of containerized applications or software. And some of you might ask yourself right now, okay, what does that mean exactly? And therefore, I would just introduce containers a little bit. So containers are standardized packaging units of software. So you have all your software within a container. And if you want to run it on Kubernetes, you have to put it in a pod. So a pod is the smallest unit inside a Kubernetes. And Kubernetes itself, you can imagine as the huge container ship, which delivers all the pods, or you can say containers in the end. Yeah. So when it comes to the health of your software running on Kubernetes, Kubernetes is really strict, I would say, in this way. So we have this pets versus cattle approach. So on the left side, you can see my cat, to be honest. It's her favorite place when I'm at work, and she's lying on my desk and sometimes even on my laptop too. And yeah, on the right side, we have this herd of cows there. And what I want to say is Kubernetes doesn't handle your application like a pet and takes care of this, your application itself. So if anything went wrong, Kubernetes will just throw it away and creates it new. So it's pretty similar to having a herd of cows where everyone is nearly the same as the other one. And everyone has a number. It's nothing special there. So if one dies, you don't care, you just get a new one. So does Kubernetes. Why I tell you this as a Kubernetes service provider is because we wanted to have the same approach for our Kubernetes service. So we want Kubernetes clusters to be treated the same way as Kubernetes treats software running on it. And so if a cluster fails, anything went wrong, we just throw it away and create it new. And besides that, we had a few more thoughts about how our installer could look like. So when I think back, it's over a year right now. We were in the office and we started to think about providing Kubernetes as a service. So what we wanted is, of course, this automation engine, this installer who does everything, who does the whole operations itself. So we don't have to care, like I said, in this pet way with Kubernetes clusters. So we don't have to manually operate or whatever. It's just this installer who cares about everything. And besides that, you can see down on the left, this is our office with my colleagues in there and our cool Kubernetes flag at the window. We had a few more thoughts. So on the left side, where you can see this huge deprecated logo on it, we had the all-in-one approach. And on the right side, we had the splitted control plane. And I will just explain it a little bit more in detail. So we thought on the left side, in this all-in-one approach, if we provide a Kubernetes as a service, do we want to give our customers access to the master nodes as well as the worker nodes? And if you know Kubernetes a little bit, the master node contains the control plane. So like the most important piece of software. And on the right side, we said, okay, we wanted it splitted from the customer cluster, so we can take care of everything. We can back up it, and we can just make sure that everything is going right, even if something fails, and we can take care of restoring it and, of course, maintaining it and stuff like that. I also attached a few other pictures where we wrote down our thoughts and architecture stuff on our windows, because we didn't have whiteboards in the office, but it was really cool. It was just amazing to see like this whole team where everyone just wants to, or everyone started to think, everyone was writing down anything, and at the end of the day you were talking about what is going on and which thoughts we had. So yeah, there we decided, okay, we don't want to do this all-in-one approach because it's hard to maintain, because it's also difficult for us to yeah, maintain customer VMs in the end. And yeah, therefore we said, okay, the right one, this splitted control plane approach sounds good for us. Besides that, we had a few other thoughts. So if we use the software which already exists, it has to be open source. We wanted it to be highly scalable, fully automated, like I already mentioned it. So we don't want to care with operating single clusters in the end. And of course, we wanted it to be in a self-service way for our customers. And when we are in the STACKIT environment where we run on OpenStack, we also want to provide a platform for other services. So yeah, as I wrote it, so we want to be the foundation. And on the next point, it is the extensible thing. So if we need to change something, if we have to adapt it to also maybe OpenStack as an example, and if we have any needs, we just want to make sure that we have the chance to do that. And yeah, then the COVID situation started, and we went into our homes and sit there for a while. But we had this one. How could I explain it? So there was this moment when my colleagues Alex and Matt met Vasu at the KubeCon 2019 when they drove together in a taxi. So it was pretty random. And Vasu told us about Gardener. And we were like, okay, maybe it could be the tool of our choice. So let's have a look. And then we had this online workshop where we sit together, and yeah, I think this picture explains everything. So we had a look at Gardener, how it works, how it feels. We had the chance to ask a lot of questions, and yeah, like you can see, we have everything we wanted, everything we thought about, plus autoscaling on top, plus the hibernation mode on top, and even a really cool dashboard. So it also fulfills our self-service needs for our customer, and we are currently using it too in our beta environment. And yeah, so Gardener, what is it in the end? I will just start on the left top. Sorry, I just wrote a little bit in the chat and I got confused, so I would just focus on the screen. So if we start on the left side at the top, we have this 100% Kubernetes approach. So it is open source, or maybe to this 100 Kubernetes, 100% Kubernetes thing. It's nothing else. It's just Kubernetes. So Gardener is Kubernetes. It's nothing more in the end. But to make it a little bit more complex, we have this Kubernetes in Kubernetes in Kubernetes thing, which was really confusing for me at the beginning. And yeah, so it's like a kubeception, if you want to call it that way. And to explain this a little bit more in detail, we can have a look on the top right. So the architecture in 3 components. And there we have the Garden as our first and highest component, which runs the Gardener. So it is a Kubernetes controller, which is responsible for managing custom resources. So this thing cares about our layer of infrastructure. It makes sure that the VMs are created, networks are created, load balancer, etc. Then we have the second component, which is the seed cluster, which contains the shoot cluster's control plane as workload. So as I said it, we had this splitted control plane approach in mind. This fulfills it exactly in a really cool way. So like I said, it has the whole control plane as workload on a seed cluster. And to this point, we take care of everything. And then there are the end user clusters, so so-called shoot cluster, which contains the worker nodes where our customer can run their workload on it. And yeah, besides that, I already mentioned it. We have this beautiful Gardener dashboard, which also where you can start to work on. And besides that, everything is written in Go, which was also great for us because we stepped up our Go development game, I would say so. So we also learned a lot, and we also contributed a few things. So we started to work in this open source environment and started to work with the community, which was also a great experience for us. So I will just tell you a few challenges we had and the things we changed and the things we want to change. So we had this maximum amount of volumes per node. So it is an example. So our OpenStack says, okay, you have this maximum amount for volumes per node, and Gardener didn't have this possibility to change it. So we thought about, okay, let's contribute this. Let's change it. And we did that. We contributed it. It's upstream right now. And it's just great to see how this works. And there were some other small changes we had, but there are a few upcoming things we have already in mind, which is, for example, the volume types for customer worker nodes we need to change. So Gardener is aware of this as well. And then we have this huge topic for the whole dual stack network setup, so that you can use IPv4 and IPv6. And I just think about my colleague Manuel, who sit there for like 3 weeks or 6 weeks. I'm not sure how long it was in the end. And he was just doing again and again some network testing stuff, and he was just going crazy. And I felt this way because when we talked with someone else from the community about the IPv4, IPv6 stuff, he was like, oh yeah, I did that for about 3 weeks and it was just completely crazy, and I was freaking out. So he felt the same, and it was just amazing for me to see, because I'm not that deep into the network layer. So and besides that, currently we are developing our own load balancer solution, which is also a great thing we started. And let's see where this is going in the future. If you want to have a look, feel free to check out the GitHub from Gardener. It's really great to see how everything works, how much components you have, and also the discussions in the issues, where we also connected with other company from I think it was Hamburg. So it's just cool. It's just a great community, and you start to work together. You start to think about the same problems, and it's nice to see and to be in this world. So besides that, we have a few lessons learned, and I will start with the technical side. So in Gardener, you have this thing called vertical pod autoscaler, and do not use it unconfigured because it scales automatically the resources from your pods. And we needed a little bit trying out and create our own best practices how to configure it, because without configuring it scales down, or it sometimes scales down the pod and gives them too less resources. So there were a few problems, but in the end, you just need to figure out how it works, and so configure it. On the other side, we have this etcd restore, which we did. So we tried to back up our etcd, and there were a lot of incremental backups. So it took us a lot of time to do the restore. And yeah, maybe my colleagues can tell you a few more words about it in the end, if you're interested. Then we have the thing, also a nice advice from Max, I think he said it yesterday, was if you run into any errors, check the resources first. So go and check the resources. And then we had this Docker daemon shutdown. So the disable auto update in package manager and the worker nodes is the reason. So the Docker daemon shutdown is the reason why we had added this point to the list. And then we have a few general things. So maybe you can say it's a product management related or whatever. So the first thing when I started as a product owner for the STACKIT Kubernetes engine, a friend and colleague of mine told me, do not plan with unsolved dependencies because it won't work. So it won't work. And even if you think, okay, yeah, it could work, no, just don't. Just don't plan with unsolved dependencies. So figure out what your dependencies are, write them down, do the whole communication to other teams, whatever you need. And if everything is fulfilled, then you can start planning. Then we have this point, be transparent. So yeah, I mean, for me, working like 1 year in this team, Gardener and Kubernetes is nothing new for me anymore. But I know that it's still sometimes hard to understand. So as I showed the Wikipedia article and you don't work with Kubernetes before, it could be confusing. So be transparent on the things you do and yeah, be open for any kind of feedback. So if someone asks a question and even if it's hard to understand, try to understand it more and ask questions to the person who you're talking to or who tries to understand what is going on in your team, because yeah, it's really complex from the outside, and therefore you just need some time to sit together and figure out what the other person needs. And yeah, so I think I'm not sure how long it already is. Can I see it anywhere here? Maybe I was talking too fast and oh, I see it down below. So okay, yeah, it's about 25 minutes right now. So yeah, I would just give you a small outlook where we are working on right now. So as I said, we have the internet-facing Kubernetes service in beta right now. So we want it to be a GA or production. And then we have another interesting point, which is a Kubernetes service for private networks. And currently it's planned for the Schwarz IT itself. So it's this eat your own dog food approach. And we want to figure out how this private network setup could look like for ourselves. And if it works, maybe someday we will provide this also for other customers. And as I already mentioned it, yeah, we have this foundation approach. So we want to be the rock solid platform where other STACKIT services can rely on and build on. And yeah, as I really rushed through the presentation, we can have this, yeah, I like this slide because a friend of mine also said yesterday, don't dead open inside. So if you know The Walking Dead, that is a joke from there. You have questions, we have answers, and therefore I would like to start with our Q&A session. So yeah, I will have a look in the chat right now and see what's going on. And yeah, thank you all for listening and for joining today. So yeah, we can go back to Q&A. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dustin. Yeah, as Dustin mentioned, now it's time for questions. So please use the time. Please use your chance to ask whatever you want. And we still have some time left. So yeah, just write it down in the YouTube chat. All right, Dustin. So we do have one question from Mirko. And the question is, who is your target group, the customers? I mean, what would be a typical scenario for customers that you want to cover?
As Kubernetes is a platform, you can build on top of it whatever you want. For me personally, I have an example. I developed a little bit in the direction of a software as a service application. Where Kubernetes is your platform itself, and you can, figure out on your own whatever you need. Like I already said, it's really complex. So if you know Kubernetes, you will think like, okay, I have the chance to do everything on my own. I have everything in control, and I can do whatever I want. If you don't know Kubernetes itself, there are tools today which provides you a more easy entrance in the container world or whatever. So I also talked about Cloud Foundry a little bit, and maybe one day our colleague Dominic will tell you more about it. So you could run this. So yeah, it's a platform. You can build on top whatever you want in the end. It could be a STACKIT service or another cloud service from ourselves. It could be a custom application. Yeah, it's open, I would say.
All right, great, perfect. So there's one more question from Konrad, and he is asking if is your own load balancer open source?
So it's currently in development, and we also thought about open sourcing it. It is a topic for the future, I would say. And so yeah, we have this like basic approach where we said, okay, we had a few problems with this OpenStack load balancer, but it changed from time to time. So that's the other thing when you rely on other services, and yeah, now it's working. So we spent a little bit of time in developing this load balancer solution, and now we have to figure out, okay, do we want to enhance it with even more features and therefore also open source it, or do we throw it away in the end of the day? It's just a new topic for us, and yeah, therefore I would say stay tuned, but it could be of course an open source project. Yeah.
All right, so one more question from Engin, and he wants to know what's with edge cases. So is Gardener also good for this?
Sorry.
Oh yes.
What's with edge cases? Yeah, is the Gardener also good for this? Yeah, interesting question. I mean, it could be, as you can rely on different infrastructure layers. So I'm not that deep into the edge case, but there is like an vSphere provider which you can also adapt. So yeah, I think it could also be interesting for an edge case. And as Vasu is also here in the chat, maybe you guys can talk to each other if you have a detailed idea of what you want to do.
All right, great. And one more question from Holger. He wants to know if you plan to provide an interface to developer platforms.
Sorry, what is exactly meant with an interface for a developer platform? Can you maybe describe it a little bit more?
Okay, so Holger, please specify your question, and I'll go to the next one, and then maybe we can answer it later. So Stefan asks if you could show us the self-service and maybe a short demo on how to set up your own environment. Yeah,
I can. So let's just get me back to WebEx. So you should. Okay. Yes. So you should see my screen, right? So this is Gardener, and yeah, it is our current beta environment, and yeah, therefore I will just jump into my project. So if you go to the STACKIT portal right now and you create your Kubernetes service, you will be forwarded to this project, as you can see it right here. And you can see I have 3 running clusters right now. And it's really easy, I would say so. So you have this plus button on the bottom right, where you can start to create your cluster. So you can give it a name. We have 2 versions available right now. We want to update it, of course, to 120. And then we have our infrastructure details. So behind this is OpenStack, as I said it. Then we can configure our worker nodes with the machine types we want, which our infrastructure layer provides us. Then we can also change our storage types we have. So this is documented in our STACKIT docs if you want to yeah, have a more detailed look on the different storage types. Then I have this autoscaler feature, which is also pretty cool. So maybe I can set it to 10 right now. And if the load increases on my Kubernetes cluster, it will just scale up to the maximum. And yeah, so we have to change our maintenance cycle on our own. So when I want updates to happen, and as I already mentioned it, we have this hibernation feature. So what does hibernation mean? Maybe if you have a dev environment which needs to run from like Monday to Friday for your developers who are working on it from like let me say from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. You can just create this there, and then you can create your cluster. So what happens in the end is the cluster will shut down after 5 p.m. So with this hibernation cycle, as I said, it's from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And beside this time, your cluster will shut down. So there's this etcd backup, and at 8 a.m. in the next day in the morning, Gardener will restore your cluster by using the etcd backup, and does it in the same way as we can see it right now in the creation process. So in the end, if you have a running cluster, I will just show this one. You can easily access it, so you can download your kubeconfig. You can even access it in a web terminal, and from there on, you can work with your cluster. That's Gardener, or the SKE service in a nutshell. Yes.
Great. Thanks, Dustin, for showing the demo. There are some more questions, and the next one would be, is it a shared or dedicated Kubernetes service from customer's perspective? And who is responsible for the master? And what type of isolation is available?
Okay. Sorry, there's this special voice in my head who tells me what I should do. Okay. It's nothing is shared. So as a customer on service side, you will create your cluster, you will get your worker nodes, and you can do everything you want there. And you will also have your own control plane, which runs on our seed cluster. So we will just take care of this, that everything works fine. But there was a little bit more. So let me just check the question. It would be awesome. And yeah, besides that, so from whom was the question again?
It was from meinegartenbewässerung.de. It was, the next part was, who is responsible for the master and what type of isolation is available?
What exactly is meant with which type of isolation? I still can't find the question. Yeah, and like I said, so we take care of all the master components. Yeah, that's the thing I can answer. But with isolation itself, yeah.
Yeah, so whoever wrote a question, if you want to know more, just try to specify your question in the chat. And I think we will continue with the next one until then. So the next one was, what is your roadmap with OpenStack?
What our roadmap is with OpenStack. We as the Kubernetes service rely on it. So I'm not sure what also exactly is meant with this question. So we have our infrastructure team, they are developing on it. So yeah, that's all I can say.
Maybe. So there are some more additional infos to the question. So it says, as Kubernetes users start developing or deploying using much more dynamic workloads, do you think you have to uplift the underlying LWS?
Sorry, I don't get this question.
Okay, so maybe we skip it as well. Let's see if there are some more questions. Okay, there's one more from Matthias. It says, will it be possible to spawn the Kubernetes cluster on bare metal too, yes, or only VM?
Sorry, I just found the question before right now in the chat. It's so do you think you have to uplift the underlying yes, now I got it. I understand different words, so I was confused. Yeah, so there is an interesting project in our infrastructure team, and maybe it could be a topic for some other meetup. So that's why I don't want to spoil too much. But yeah, there are things going on, and it's really interesting. And as I said, we will still rely on it. So yeah. Okay, and the next one was, will it be possible to spawn the Kubernetes clusters on bare metal to or only VM? I think Gardener itself is able to do that. But yeah, as I said, for us, it's we rely on our OpenStack at the moment.
Okay, then one more question. So when it is planned to offer Stack IT services to external customers?
Yeah, so currently we are still in a testing phase. So we have our friendly customers yeah, it's like a developing process. I can tell you exactly right now, it's still going on. We are testing a lot, figuring out how things work and how everything feels great. And yeah, maybe I can just share the STACKIT contact page to you. So if you're interested in any way, feel free to contact us. And yeah, I just shared it. So All right.
Okay, perfect. So it looks like this one was the last one, but I think we can wait for 1 more minute to see if maybe there will pop up some new questions. We still have some time left, so yeah, go ahead if you want to know something more. Where have you shared the contact information you mentioned?
I thought I wrote it in the chat. Let me just share it again. Can you see it? So I'm Dastix in the chat. So maybe
I think it's
not
there. No.
Okay, maybe then let me just share my screen again. Just go to this page. Now you should see it, right? So it's a stackit.de/de/contact. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yep.
Nice one.
All right. Someone says you're really lovely. Not a question, but he just wanted to say it. But I think, yeah, there are no more questions coming in at the moment. So, well, there's one more. So it's about what you have learned about contributed or when you contributed Garden open source code. Yeah.
To be honest, we learned a lot from Kubernetes itself and how Gardener uses the Kubernetes approach to provide Kubernetes cluster in the end. So it was, yeah, this was an amazing learning path. And yeah, on the other side, we learned a lot in Go developing and of course in community work.
Okay. Yeah, I think the last question we already tried to answer.
Yeah, I think it's a future topic for us, of course. So we, like I said, I know that there are a lot of things going on in our infrastructure team, and so I can just say, let's see what is happening in the future. To be honest.
Yeah, just one more question. If there's any option to get in touch, like a Slack workspace or something else?
We just set up a community page, and we also want to publish this. So yeah, there will be a community space in the future, but it's not Slack right now. Maybe it's also something, but yeah, hopefully we can publish that soon.
Mm-hmm. And Stefan asked if it's possible to rewatch the session. I can answer it. Yes, that's possible. So it will be available on YouTube. Once the live stream is finished, you can rewatch it.
Nice one.
All right, so I think we can come to an end now. Thank you very much, Dustin, again, for this very interesting presentation. I think it was a great evening. We got some great insights.
Thank you all for participating.
And yeah, of course, yeah. Thanks to the audience for participating. And I would like to also say thanks to Daniel Grauf and Dennis Labuda for the technical part, and also to Oskar Schmidt, who was responsible for the event organization today. And yeah, hopefully we can see us at our next meetup. And I would say enjoy the rest of your evening. And yeah, goodbye from my side.
Also goodbye from my side.